Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chowda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber yet, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Please enable notifications because this really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you learned something new from this video, please consider clicking the like button. My name is Dr. Nitin Chowda and let's just jump right in. What is the key to the election coming up in the next 24 hours? The key to the election is the African American vote. In fact, the more African Americans vote, the higher the probability that the Democrats might win the election if you're a Democratic strategist. On your screen, you'll see an article from the Financial Times. This is a recent article, and the headline of the article reads, African American turnout is key to the US election result. Democrats had pains to avoid mistakes of 2016 when black voters came out in fewer numbers. Quite fascinating. In many parts of the country, Democrats are banking on the fact that African American individuals will indeed come back to vote. In fact, you will see a chart on your screen from the Pew Research Center, and this shows you that non-white eligible voters accounted for more than 3/4 of the total US electorate growth since the year 2000. You can see that Hispanic, African American voters, Asian voters, and others essentially outnumber the white voters. This is just incredible when you look at the data. This tells you that essentially, there are changes happening in the country as far as voters are concerned. According to Antoine Seawright, who's a Democratic consultant from South Carolina, he said, the problem is we are in the middle of a pandemic that has disproportionately impacted voters of color. And so none of us know what the final impact will be. Because keep in mind, this pandemic has disproportionately impacted low-income individuals, middle-income individuals, has disproportionately impacted individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality. A lot of these industries employ African American and Hispanic individuals. Now, here's something that you may or may not know. African American voter turnout fell for the first time in 2 decades in 2016, with just 59.6% of eligible black voters casting their votes in 2016, according to Pew Research. Now, this compared with a record high of 66.6% turnout rate amongst African American voters in 2012 when President Barack Obama stood for re-election. This is incredible. And a lot of analysts believe that the fact that black voter turnout was less than usual in key battleground states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. They believe that, these states, which by the way, President Trump won by razor-thin margins, the president took the state of Pennsylvania by 44,000 votes. In 2016, he took the state of Wisconsin by 22,700 votes in 2016, and he took the state of Michigan by 10,700 votes in 2016. As you can see, this all comes down to specific counties in specific battleground states, and I have done another video talking about specific counties, the battle within the battlegrounds. So it's going to be razor thin. So a lot of analysts believe that the fact that African American voters essentially didn't turn out in the numbers that they were expected to turn out in key battleground states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, they believe that that could have cost the Electoral College victory for Hillary Clinton. Now, this is a statement from Andra Gillespie, who is a political science professor at Emory University and an expert in African American politics. Black turnout is important for Democrats in particular because arguably, if Hillary Clinton had increased black voter turnout in cities like Philadelphia, Detroit, and Milwaukee, she might actually have won those states, just given how narrow the margin was and also given just how low voter turnout was. That's just incredible. On your screen, you'll see a chart. Can black voters swing the 2020 election? Now, keep in mind, again, like I mentioned, black voter turnout had reduced significantly in 2016. So when you see the chart on your left, you'll see that the black voter turnout that's represented in that reddish magenta color, if you will, that fell in 2016 quite significantly, and the black voter turnout not only fell in 2016, but the fact is that these voters in general seem to have a strong preference for the Democratic Party, which means if you're a Democrat, you're hoping that, African American individuals do indeed turn out to vote. But if you're a Republican, you like this trend. Now, keep in mind, we will provide you with a link to this article from the Financial Times in the description section below. So definitely check out the article if you want to dig deeper. And please comment below and let us know what you feel about this information. Let me know if you, as an African American individual, or if you know someone who's an African American individual, if you're indeed going going to be voting, because it's very clear that the vote from African American individuals is indeed going to play a very, very important role during this election. Now, it looks like the turnout is increasing because, according to Tom Bonnier, who's the chief executive of TargetSmart, which is a Democratic data firm, he said that his statistical model showed that in 6 important battleground states, we're talking Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, and Texas. Once again, 6 important battleground states: Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, and Texas. The number of African American voters over the age of 65 who have voted early, either in person or by mail, has already exceeded their overall turnout numbers from 4 years ago. So this is interesting. And according to Hawkfish, which is also a Democratic data firm backed by former New York Governor Michael Bloomberg, some 142,000 voters in the state of Florida, 142,000 voters in the state of Florida who had voted so far are newly registered or did not vote in the 2016 presidential election. So this tells you that indeed we are seeing a high amount of voters this time around. You'll see a chart on your screen which shows you how President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are doing in the US national polls. Now, keep in mind, the election is 24 hours away, and depending on the outcome of the elections, we could look at these polls and say, aha, you got it right. Or we could look at this poll which shows former Vice President Joe Biden leading nationally 51.7% compared to President Trump 43.2%. We could see former Vice President Joe Biden, if he wins, we could look at these polls and say, you got it. Or, well, these polls are all a big waste of time. Like I mentioned this in another video. If President Trump wins, then this goes against all the polling, or a majority of the polling that's occurring nationally, and this, I believe, would signal the end of the polling business as we know it. So it's just incredible. And again, I think this is an important statement from Antoine Seawright, who's a Democratic consultant from Columbia, South Carolina. And he said that Democrats have been very intentional to avoid repeating the mistakes of 4 years ago, and they have sought to engage voters both online and in person. And I mentioned this comment earlier from Antoine, but I'm going to mention it again because it's significant. He said, the problem is we are in the middle of a pandemic that has disproportionately impacted voters of color, and so none of us know what the final impact will be. What I do know is that the party and the candidates and our campaigns are not taking anything for granted. So we can see that there are a lot of things happening right now. And again, anything can happen. And a lot of work needs to be done to make sure that everybody goes out and votes fairly. And it does seem like there's an uptrend this year amongst voters by African Americans. And this was a comment from Adrian Shropshire, Executive Director of Black PAC, which is a group that works to mobilize black voters. We are encouraged by the turnout, but there is more work to do. And, this is the overall consensus. Folks have just not gotten to the polls yet, which is the reason why these last few days are going to be critical. I think we are going to see a lot of these voters show up on election day, which is 24 hours away at the time I'm recording this video. Let me know what you think of this information in the comment section below. Again, you'll find a link to the article also in the description section below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I really appreciate you. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. If you learned something new from this video, please click like. Please subscribe, please enable notifications. That helps out the YouTube algorithm. That would be your vote of support for us and all the effort that goes into this channel behind the scenes. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. You can get your cell phone out and send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000, and you'll get added to SMS alerts list. We will send you breaking news and alerts, and so you can get that from us. You can also, if you like, get on our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and you'll get on our email list. You can opt out of the emails or the SMSs at any point in time that you want. You can also follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. So definitely make sure you follow us then. If you learned something new from this video, please consider sharing this video with friends and family. And you'll always find links to our resources in the description section below. Please comment and engage with our community. Our community is growing very rapidly. And finally, once again, Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications so you get updates from us going forward. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.